Proponents of net neutrality recently have been riding on this wave of momentum where state after state has proposed legislation to enact their own net neutrality laws after the FCC repealed them nationally in December of 2017. So Washington became the first state to pass net neutrality legislation. Oregon followed suit, and it looks as though California will follow soon after Oregon, and there's also more states doing everything in their power to pass net neutrality rules before the FCC's repeal takes effect in April. Now, unfortunately, I have some bad news to report because after that momentum, it's clear that internet service providers are not happy about what states are doing to protect net neutrality. So a popular lobbying firm known as USTelecom, who represents internet service providers like AT&T and Verizon, is now doing what they can to stop momentum at the state level. And they're suing states, and they state that they are taking aggressive action to stop states from passing their own net neutrality laws. So according to John Brodkin of Ars Technica, a lobby group that represents AT&T, Verizon, and other telcos plans to sue states and cities that try to enforce net neutrality rules. USTelecom, the lobby group, made its intentions clear yesterday in a blog post titled "All Americans Deserve Equal Rights Online." Broadband providers have worked hard over the past 20 years to deploy ever more sophisticated, faster, and higher capacity networks and uphold net neutrality protections for all, USTelecom CEO Jonathan Spalter wrote. To continue this important work, there is no question we will aggressively challenge state or municipal attempts to fracture the federal regulatory structure that made all this progress possible. The USTelecom Board of Directors includes AT&T, Verizon, Frontier, CenturyLink, Windstream, and other telcos. The group's membership ranges from the nation's largest telecom companies to small rural cooperatives. So understand that what they're saying is inherently contradictory. They're saying that they are upholding net neutrality and they will uphold net neutrality, but yet they're aggressively challenging states who want to pass their own net neutrality laws. Now, let me ask you this, because we hear from companies like Comcast who promise they'd never block or throttle content. Why would you so aggressively be against something if you're not going to be throttling content anyway? Why would you be against net neutrality if it technically wouldn't have any effect on you? Well, of course, it's because these companies are gaslighting us. Now, USTelecom, who represents these huge corporations who stand to gain billions of dollars in profit from the repeal of net neutrality, what it's saying is any state that chooses to violate the FCC's preemption rule that blocks states from passing their own net neutrality laws, well, we're going to take it upon ourselves to sue each and every single one of these states. It's not just like the FCC alone is acting to stop these states from carrying out their own net neutrality laws, because the GPI certainly may very well do that. But this lobbying firm is taking it upon itself to sue states to make sure that their companies, the companies that it represents, have the power to violate net neutrality. And they're doing this brazenly. They released a press release to announce that they'll be suing states. They literally use the language, we're going to aggressively challenge states that enact their own net neutrality laws. Now, again, I can't not say it. The reason why these companies and lobbying firms are so brazen in their hatred of net neutrality is because they don't have to worry about consumer backlash. They know that if customers disapprove of what they're doing, well, those customers can't do anything. They can't cancel and boycott that company, because otherwise they'd just be left with no internet, because in many cases, in many municipalities across the country, you've got one or two options, and usually one of those two options is shit internet. So you don't have a choice. So that's why they're doing what they want to out in the open. I mean, they're just shamelessly announcing that they're going to be suing states who violate net neutrality. So look, here's what I got to say to this. Bring it on. We knew that when we pushed for net neutrality to be enacted at the state level, that would attract litigation from lobbying firms who represent these greedy billion-dollar companies. We knew that. We knew that there was going to be pushback. And what the FCC did, really, we have to go back to Ajit Pai as well. What he did is so egregious because he's the one who made this possible. In his repeal order, he made it so states can't pass their own net neutrality rules, and if they did, which he knew that they would do, this could happen. It opened them up to a lawsuit from lobbying firms that are representing companies like Verizon and AT&T. Now, mark my words about this, USTelecom will not be the only lobbying firm that sues these states. I guarantee other lobbying firms that represent internet service providers, like CTIA, they're going to join this suit as well. Mark my words about that. And if I'm wrong, then I'll be pleasantly surprised, and I'll say I stand corrected, but I know how these companies operate. I've been tracking this issue now for months, and I've been really following net neutrality for years. And what they do is make sure that any policy that hurts their bottom line or inhibits more profits, they're going to attack. And they're coming out and they're saying it. So what we have to do is we have to continue to relentlessly fight. Don't let this discourage us, because what lawmakers might do, I worry after hearing about this, is they might be discouraged and decide not to pass their own net neutrality regulations because they know that it's going to cost a lot of money for them to defend it in court. And what's sad is that USTelecom might actually have a good legal argument. I think we have a good legal argument to push for net neutrality at the state level as well, but they have the FCC behind them. They can point to this repeal order that Ajit Pai and other Republicans on the FCC passed and say, look, they said states can't pass their own net neutrality laws, and here they are passing their own net neutrality laws. Now we want to sue them. So look, this is going to be a really long legal battle, and there's nothing we can really do to control this lobbying firm. We can't control companies. We can't boycott them. But what we can do is continue to exert pressure on lawmakers. And certainly, again, I can't stress this enough, net neutrality, that repeal will take effect sometime in April. So if your state doesn't pass net neutrality laws in time, you will be vulnerable. ISPs in your state can block and throttle content. So you have to fight. It is officially crunch time. We've got to make sure we do everything we can to get our state legislators to act. And again, will they be sued by it? Possibly. And this lawsuit might make them less likely to act, but that means we just have to push even harder because net neutrality is too important of an issue for us to just let go.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.